January 31st, 2024 edition of the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series, brought to you by the National Urban League. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the Harlem, New York-based diversity recruitment firm East Coast Executives. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. The Digital Career Success Series, DCSS, is a professional development series that helps members of our Urban League young professionals and other diverse job seekers develop new skill sets that will enhance their careers through digital platforms such as webinars, Facebook, and Instagram Live. The goal is to provide an opportunity for professional development right from one's computer. You may want more, so visit us at nuljobsnetwork.com. All right, let's talk about today's Digital Career Success Series, Revitalize Your Resume, featuring Brenda Mariah and Denise Mills. I'm really excited to have both of these individuals on the show today, but let's start out. Brenda, welcome to the Digital Career Success Series, and please share a little bit about your background with our audience.
Thank you so much for having me and inviting me to be a part of the conversation. I'm currently the career strategy manager at Push Career Management and also the president of the National Resume Writers Association. I take great pride in that because we care about really the skill involved in developing a robust and effective resume. And so let's just get ready to have a really practical conversation today. Thank you.
So you're just going to push that off. You're president of the National Resume Writers Association, and you're just going to run right by that. We're talking Revitalize Your Resume today. I'm sure you have some great information to share. I'm looking forward to hearing all that you have to share, along with your co-host today, Denise Mills. Denise, how's it going?
It's going great from cloudy skied California this morning. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're going to hit us with the cloudy skies. I'm sitting here with gray skies. Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kenneth. First of all, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm super excited. As I've said before, excited to be a part of our conversation today. And a little bit about me, gosh, I've got lots of experience in talent acquisition in the corporate space, along with the staffing industry, have had a great opportunity to make an impact in hiring for med device companies, Fortune 500 companies, and those hyper growth startups are my favorite. Currently, I am a transition coach for Randstad RiseSmart, which is an outplacement company. And so I get to spend my day speaking to professionals that have recently been impacted, by what's going on in the job market, lots of layoffs. So there's lots of conversations about pivoting, rebranding yourself, and all those other exciting things. And when I'm not working for Randstad RiseSmart, I am building my own baby, Amara Talent, which will be a coaching firm, really empowering people to tap into their personal brands to attract opportunities that, that they're super excited about. So I would say my expertise is definitely in the areas of resume writing. As a recruiter, I've probably seen millions of resumes, and there's definitely things that stand out that could make you get increased higher prospects. So excited to share my experience and wisdom with you guys. So thank you.
We're excited to have you. I do believe you supported us last summer at the National Urban League Conference.
Yes.
Some coaching and some resume reviews online. So we just appreciate your support of the National Urban League and you just bringing your expertise to our platform. So thank you so very much. Listen,
thank you.
Denise and Brenda, we have an unbelievable audience. I want them to check in the chat and let us know where they're tuning in from, and we'll keep moving on. I'm having some problems navigating the slides, so Corey, I'm going to ask you to check in and move to the next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so this is the best place to get started for us. Like, what should people consider before updating their resume? Brenda, I'm going to come to you with this one.
Very good. So here's the deal. I work with so many people who reach out and, hey, I want to update my resume. I just lost my job. I got to update my resume. That's the first thing that so many people will say, but they forget the fundamental first step, which is to identify where it is that they're even going, what it is that they even want to do. I think so many times we get caught up in just kind of doing what we have always done, that we don't take the time to daydream anymore. And enough is enough. And so I'll use myself as an example. I wasn't born a professional resume writer. I was actually a degreed electrical engineer. And so I worked for Motorola, y'all. I'm an engineer, I'm a project manager certified, all these things, but I knew that my future wasn't in engineering. And so I had to really dig deep and start to think about what I wanted for my life and what I wanted that thing to look like. And so I got to sit down with my own thoughts in my own mind and decide for myself, this is what I want. How am I going to develop a resume that's going to help me achieve my own goals and not necessarily the life that was laid out before me or the life that I had planned when I was 17 years old. So now I'm a grown up. I have decisions that I get to make. And so I want to make sure that before anybody thinks about just updating their resume, that you know what direction this resume is written in, so that you can actually arrive at the place that you intended to, as opposed to just letting your career happen to you.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a really important piece of it. So as we kind of use that as the framework, I'd like to bounce into some things here, Denise, just in regarding, all right, so you have the foundation, you know kind of where you want to go or where you'd like to go, but now it's time to revitalize your resume, right? So there's a
Right.
changing job market out here. I know you sit right in the meat of that. So talk to us a little bit about some of the changes that you're seeing as it relates to the job market and resumes.
Right. Right now, what's happening, everyone, is that, as we're looking forward in 2024, job seekers really need to look at a couple of different factors that are going to determine, what's happening. We all know that it's a political year, right? So a lot of companies are kind of holding their breath until they find out who's actually in that seat. But there are other things that are impacting the job market right now that many of us, or many of you don't know. And one of that includes just moderate hiring demand. Some companies are just kind of holding off on hiring till right now. But not only that, we're having more and more people coming back to the labor force. So, folks that weren't looking, a 6 months back or a year or so back, they're now jumping back into the market, especially around, the 24 to 55-year-old age group. So it's definitely lots of things are changing. AI is reconfiguring people's jobs, not necessarily eliminating them, but also creating, brand new opportunities as well. So you gotta stay ready. You gotta expect the unexpected, but keep your eyes out on the market and maneuver as you need to.
So how do we gain a competitive edge by increasing brand visibility? Like, how do we do that?
Well, some of the things that I believe in, certainly from my perspective, are things like storytelling, like making sure that I think the vast majority of resumes that I end up looking at, I'm like, okay, you told me what you were responsible for, but you didn't tell me that you were actually good at your job. You didn't give me a sense that you did the thing that you were responsible for well. And so we see really a lack of achievement showing up on a lot of resumes. They're very generic. I hate to use that term, but it's the truth. And so we have got to start to outsmart this system. And so here we are, we're dealing with Denise. She's, working with outplacement. And there are people who are in the recruiting space who are just taking just a few moments or a few seconds even sometimes to scan a resume. And if they don't see it right out the gate, if it's not almost hitting them in the face, then you are not standing out. You look like everybody else in the stack of resumes. And so here's the deal, you all. Please take the time and ask yourself the right kinds of questions, right? Even to the point of examining everything that you think is a bullet point on your resume and really challenging yourself with a simple question. And the question that I like to use is just, so what? So what you wrote reports? What did that help for the organization? So what you were a part of this committee? What actual impact did that make to the organization, to the bottom line, to the top line, to revenue, to time savings? Those are the things that I need to know if I'm going to pay you what you are worth in the marketplace, right? Not what you are worth, but what you are worth in the marketplace, what your role is worth. These are some of the things that help you to stand out. Absolutely. And so you see the use of action and power words, but that also means what difference did I make to the organizations that I have served? Because if you've done it before, there's a predictive indicator that you can do it again. And now this is why I'm willing to pay you, $100K for this work, because you have demonstrated a level of expertise, as opposed to telling me what you were merely responsible for.
Well, let's stay right here real quick. And either one of you can kind of chime in on this, but I know you were speaking about all right, so quantifiable bullet points, right, are really important on a resume, and using the action and power words, of course. But a lot of people often have challenges thinking that maybe their resume is not navigating that applicant tracking system. And as you had mentioned, even when it does that, I know the Ladders, the career site, the Ladders, they did a report, and they realized that their recruiters were looking at resumes for about 5 to 7 seconds. So
It's true.
so first of all, the applicant tracking system may screen you out. And then even when you get on the desk of a hiring influencer, it's possible that they're not spending a lot of time looking at your resume, but they say quantifiable items stick out. Denise, when you're looking at resumes and when you're coaching individuals about how to approach their resume, what are your thoughts around them navigating the ATS and other things that pretty much are out of their control?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's an important point to continue to reemphasize, and not only ATS optimized, but AI optimized. The reality is, as a recruiter, we just don't have time to look at every single thing, every part of your resume. So what you have on the top half of your resume matters. That real estate matters. And what am I going to be looking for? Anytime I see numerical numbers, if I see there's certain words that just my eyes are absolutely drawn to. But the important thing is making sure that your resume aligns with that particular position. So if there are certain keywords that are riddled throughout that job description, then your resume needs to reflect that. And in order to come up higher on the search results in an applicant tracking system, it's based on keywords. So if you have professional brand on your resume 50 times versus another person who has it on there twice, guess who I'm going to be calling first? Guess whose resume I'm going to see first? And now with AI, that makes it even more competitive. So absolutely important.
It's really
I'd like
interesting.
to add, if that's okay. One of the things that we do as part of the National Resume Writers Association is we speak with and we engage with the actual engineers who build applicant tracking software systems. We want to make sure that we understand how the work that we're doing integrates with the expectations from the end user. And so I think Denise was absolutely spot on when she talked about keywords. And we can't be lazy, y'all. We can't take the passive route when it comes to applying for jobs. We have to customize that thing darn near every single time. And I know it's tedious and I know it's frustrating and I know nobody wants to hear that, but this is the path that has to be taken because that's the vocabulary that they're looking for. But sometimes we're shooting ourselves in the foot because we overlook things like formatting, and we're using certain templates that have certain formatting elements that can't be well received by applicant tracking systems. And so if you're using, I can't tell you how many resumes I see that don't even have like contact information on there somewhere, or they're in the header. they can't read headers. They can't
Mhm.
read text boxes. And so you're using these really beautiful, templates that you found on the internet, but they are not helping you. And so please just kind of get into the habit of generating just native Word docs without all the fanciful formatting. There can be formatting. So don't get me wrong, but we are not talking about so severely over formatting that we're
Mhm.
missing the point. You are operating against a computer on many cases in that first round of resume reviews. So yeah, eventually some human person is going to look at it for a few seconds, but first you're contending with the computer, and don't
Mhm.
forget it. So yeah, we got work to do in making sure that we're taking the time to match up that job posting, the
Mhm.
vocabulary from the job posting with the vocabulary, the specific vocabulary we're using in our respective resumes, and then making those matches every single time. Tedious, I know, I get it, but my company isn't called Push Career Management for nothing. We got to push through all the tedium to get the job done. We don't need to be here forever, y'all.
All
Right.
right, you know what? So it was on the prior slide, but I saw something about, yes, something about age-proof resume content.
Mm.
And I thought
Let's
that
talk
was an
about it.
interesting bullet point. Yeah, so let's go. I see both of you guys are getting excited about it. So anyone can jump in to kind of discuss that.
So important that you age proof your resume. And it doesn't matter if this is your first job or, your 15th job, age proofing. Hiring managers want to know that somebody can step in and immediately bring value. You can ramp up, you can adapt to whatever technology they're utilizing. You're firing on all cylinders. And nothing kills that vibe more than saying things like, you know how to use a fax machine, or, you have over 70 years of work experience. And those are little breadcrumbs that recruiters look for. But again, recruiters understand bias to some degree, but a hiring manager, they're less forgiving. So if they see that you graduated high school in 1980, they're doing the math. And beyond just the numerical things, what is the content that you're sharing there? Are you putting references upon request? Like, nothing signals that, you're of the older set by having things like that, your personal interests, years that you've graduated, outdated emails. So utilizing domains like Hotmail and AOL, you're killing yourself before you even get a chance to be considered on a serious level. So age proof, your not only resume, but all of your socials that are connected to your job search as well.
You
I'd
know,
like to take.
I, I've had people push back on the whole email extension, and I'm like, you don't have to believe me, but I'm
Right.
sharing with you that when I see an AOL or a Hotmail address, it tells me a lot. So yeah, it's just I'm not asking you to do anything that's that complicated. Just get a Gmail account, man, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah, so interesting.
And I'll say, when you get your Gmail, don't tie it to a year. Don't have it, michael.smith1968 @gmail.com, because I can still do math. I would like to also advise against using certain vocabulary words, things like seasoned professional, retired military. Be super careful, because those words send signals. And even sometimes you're like really proud that you have 35 years of experience, right? You're super proud of it, and I'm super proud of you. But as Denise already said, more than 15 years of work experience can start to date you a little bit. So even though you're proud of the 35, you can say 15 plus, and it still captures and accounts for your 35 without the likelihood of age discrimination biting you in the butt.
Yeah, I'm looking here. List of hobbies and interests. I never understood that on resumes, but I know that I still see it on occasion. But it tells me a lot. And here's the thing, you know, hiring is discrimination. It really is. It's discrimination. You're taking something that you want and excluding things that you don't want, right?
Mhm.
But ageism is real in the marketplace, and if you can find ways to just get in the door without excluding yourself by dating your resume, I think it's really important. So thank you both for adding that. Denise, any more that you have regarding that?
Around age proofing?
Yes, because then we're going to
Yeah.
go to smart stories.
Right. Again, too, you know, if you're somebody that's coming out early career, there definitely are things that can signal that. And look, being a part of, you know, sororities and things like that are great, but what you're going to want to emphasize in those areas or that content is really more if you've held a position. Maybe you were the vice president of recruiting versus, you know, you organized a kissing booth or, you know, some type of event like that. So again, age proofing goes to both ends, early in your career or, you know, middle career or later.
So we're here on the Smart Stories slide, and I'm taking it that's an acronym for something. Am I right with that?
You are right.
So talk to me about it.
All right, so SMART is an acronym, and I'm actually going to read off some notes here because I do, you know, I get the letters a little mixed up sometimes. But your S is sorry, your S in the story is a story. You know, you're telling a story, a compelling story. Hiring managers remember stories. So the S is story. The M is your metrics more. So the specifics of what you did, any data that you can share. A, of course, is action. You know, what did you do in that situation to fix that problem, to resolve that issue, et cetera? Are the results. And, you know, again, you want those to be measurable. You can define the success. And sometimes even if it fails, you can define what those results are as well. And T is really kind of tying everything together, but it's also about timely, you know, making sure that you are specifying the time frame in which all of these things happened in your story. So the more you add, the more details that you add there, and I don't mean in length, but the more details you add, it makes it more compelling. It shows your impact. And those are the stories that hiring managers remember.
You know, it's the Digital Career Success Series, the National Urban League Jobs Network. I see a lot of people in the chat asking if they can have a copy of the presentation. This and all of the Digital Career Success Series shows are uploaded onto a YouTube channel, the Urban League Jobs Network YouTube channel, and you'll be able to find it there. And I don't know, probably in about a week. So you know that you can find that and all of our sessions there. All right, so let's talk about highlight strategic and tactical experience. This is a challenge for a lot of people because really you're kind of looking back into your career and talking about the things that you've done. And sometimes that's a challenge. So Brenda, what are your thoughts on ways to kind of navigate that task?
Yeah, so going back to something that I said earlier, which is kind of asking yourself, so what? I think that's a really important question to ask yourself. And when you ask yourself that question a few different times, so what, so what, so what, the information starts to really emerge. I loved her SMART acronym that Denise just broke down. But so what, so what? So, okay, so let's say you work in a call center and you answer phones. Your bullet point might currently say, I answer phones. Okay, no, you did so much more. And so I say, so what? You're like, but I answer like 400 calls a day. And I'm like, so what? But I had to like really diffuse upset customers. So what? But I had to take notes while I was. Oh, so what you really meant to say is that I answer 400 calls a day while diffusing customer grievances and taking meticulous, accurate notes in a CRM system. Like, whoa. So this person can multitask. This person has shown me their capacity to kind of go above and beyond. And so there is the core of that so what question. The value of that question can really bring the right information to the forefront, could bring those metrics, because 400 calls compared to what? If the average was 200, I might even be able to say I doubled the expectation, right? And if you saw a problem and you fixed it, nobody else saw it, there's strategy, right? There's strategic edge and advantage where I solved a problem. I implemented a solution that ended up saving us time, saving us money, saving us resources. And so I think all of these things really kind of start with the right questions being asked. And so what is one of the most powerful questions that every person on this call and every person that will watch it into perpetuity will be able to leverage. So what? forever and ever.
Yes, yes, I love it. You're bringing the heat, Brenda. I love it.
I'm getting ready to get Brenda to do my resume. I haven't done a resume in years, but when it happens, I think I need you. All right. But there's a strategy. You have to be strategic, right, Denise?
Yeah. Let me add to that because she hit the nail on the head. You know, if I'm looking at a resume and I see that you were in a call center and made calls, okay, cool. You know, I'm going to keep moving, but nothing will stop my eyes more than seeing that you handled more than 400 calls. Like you were busy, and the fact that you handled that was amazing. And not only that, the fact that you know, retained customers, 50% of the customers who were talking about leaving, like those are the things that show impact. And look, we all, in all of our jobs, to be successful, we have to be strategic, we have to be tactical, but so many of us just focus on what we do and what we did versus all of the other things that we do in order to get there, to have those results. So things like, you know, planning things, you know, before you hop on the phone to make those calls, I'm sure you need to figure out, okay, what customers am I calling today? These ones are pissed off, these ones, you know what I mean? So there is thinking that's going on behind that. You're making decisions. And we move like robots in autopilot a lot of times at work, and it's a challenge to let for clients to understand you are making impact all the time when you show up every day. We're just not programmed to think about it, and that's kind of the sad part. So when we have coaches like myself and Brenda, the goal is to change that mindset and to open your eyes to exactly the value that you're bringing every single day, strategically and tactically.
You know, Brenda, I've heard resume writers say that they'll ask of their clients to simply go into the office and write down everything they do for a few days. Is that an approach you use?
It's not necessarily an approach I use, but I see the value in it. I see the merits of it, because sometimes people can't see what's right in front of them. They can't see how amazing they are. And it's just like with a few probing questions, it's like, wait, I had a client the other day. He's like, nobody's calling me, you know, I've been out of work. And I'm like, okay, well, what kind of work are you doing? He's like, I'm an event producer. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but I've been out of work for a year. And I'm like, well, have you done anything in that year? He's like, oh yeah, I worked on this, I worked on that. I'm like, wait, you just rattled off 5 things on a basic question. Come to find out, this man worked on Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, and none of that was on his resume. So I'm like, enough is enough. Come on, you guys. We have got to make sure that we are waking up and paying attention to the things that we are doing. But sometimes you just need a guide. Sometimes you need somebody to help you navigate the minefield of all that information, because what you don't think is important, I might look at and say, this is critical importance,
Right.
and this has to be featured front and center, but you were ready to step right over. Just like you checked me earlier. You said, well, hold on, you just breezed right on past the fact that you're a president of this association. Let's bring that back to the surface. And so that's the kind of guidance that people often need, because they're ready to sweep it under the rug like it's no big deal. And then somebody like me gets a hold of it. And it's like, come on now, this is impressive. This is amazing. This has to be featured and highlighted. So let's stop burying the lead and putting some stuff in a file somewhere in our mental pockets. Now, come on, we have got to put this stuff right front and center in our LinkedIn profiles. Everywhere we go, make sure people know these are the talents and skills that we bring to the table.
You know, I don't want to forget this, but your client, the events manager, I have an events manager search going on right now. Once you finish that great resume, you make sure to circle back and let's try to put something
I
together.
will make sure that you all are connected. Well done.
I love it. I love it.
All right. So we spoke a little bit about using action and power words, but I think we should take a deeper dive and we'll split this up. So Denise, let's talk about action words.
Yeah, you know, action words are important. You know, old school resumes talk about you know, responsible for responsible for all content. When really the reality is that you managed all of the content of the marketing initiatives. You know, action shows what you did, and it's alive, it's energetic. Again, it shows your impact, and you can definitely ratchet that up with power words, but don't be passive in what you do. There's a great study out there that talks about high performers and how they speak of themselves. And high performers use I did this, my impact was here, versus lower performers who talk about we, and we did this, and the team did that. And so when you connect to action words, you're focusing on you, what you did, and what you brought to the table.
This example here of an action statement versus a power statement is really a powerful thing when you just look at it, because people, as Brenda was just speaking about, sometimes things that are extremely important to the hiring manager or the eyes that are on the resume, you may not think are that important, but that's what they need in that moment. They need somebody that spearheaded content marketing and global campaigns, right? And then to quantify that work on the back end, leading to a 45% increase in customer engagement, like that's a solid statement. I want to speak, I saw the question bounce through the Q&A, but as you start to expand on your bullets, your resume starts to grow, right? So someone had a question about, is a 2-page resume okay? What are your guys' thoughts?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you have 2 pages worth of good quality content, then you may need a 2-page resume.
That's right.
If you're a new graduate with 1 internship, you probably need a 1-page resume because that's all you are working with at the moment. And so don't be confined or restricted to a single page. If you have an impressive background and you have 15 solid years of experience in different spaces and industries and areas of expertise, 2 pages is not any sort of a death sentence. Now, I wouldn't recommend going beyond 2 pages if you are in traditional kinds of roles. If you are a medical doctor, of course there are certain exceptions of occupations where the 2-page limit just really does not apply. Academia, science, those sorts of things. But if you are in a just kind of a universal corporate America kind of role, 2-page resume is very normal. Now, if you get instructions from a specific recruiter that says submit a 1-page resume, please condense it down to 1 page. But other than that, absolutely 2 pages is sufficient.
Hey, Denise, I just saw something. They were asking how many bullet points is too many. We won't go entire document like on each position. Let's go there.
Right. I would say, again, depending on the role, your level, your title, etc., anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe 7 might be a little bit too much. But again, those bullet points, they better be powerful, they better be compelling and just racked with metrics versus it just being fluff.
Sure.
And we actually did do a very intensive study on that through NRWA. So we have a study guide that actually suggests not more than 5 consecutive bullets. And so it doesn't mean you have to cap it at 5. It just means not more than 5 in a row. So if you have 10 things to say, it's just time to start categorizing and segmenting some of those bullet points out.
Love it. National Resume Writers Association,
yes.
NRWA. I just wanted to let people know what the acronym was all about. All right, so Denise, we're talking about researching our competition. Now tell me what that means.
Absolutely. A lot of times we're applying to jobs and we have no clue how we measure up to the market. We have no idea whether or not the skills that we're highlighting on the resume are even in demand. And so a quick little thing you can do if you're applying for a job, if you've seen a job description that you're excited about, applying to, get on LinkedIn and try to find somebody with that exact experience. See some of the things that they're calling out. Maybe there are skills that they're calling out on their LinkedIn profile. They might even have a resume that you can take a look at. But again, it's important to know where you're at in the crowd. You might already be ahead, but you might need to kind of step your game up because these are the people more than likely or similar that are applying to that same job and that the recruiter is going to be looking at. So you got to have eyes on your competition too.
Yeah, I think people can leverage informational interviews to kind of gather information and data points on
Love that.
competition looks like. And I think LinkedIn provides a great foundation to do some of that. And you may even connect them with a company of interest. So you can be strategic with that type of work as well. All right,
Right.
Brenda, keyword optimization is it's been the word for a while now. I know it's, so talk to us about keyword optimization as it relates to resumes.
So it's so funny because it ties directly into what Denise was just saying. Some of that, just kind of looking at what's going on with other people. One of the things that I often advise folks to do is to start really looking at studying out a few job descriptions for the kinds of work that they want to do, and get a feel for what are the skills that are currently in demand for that type of role. And so, if you are lacking in a particular software application, or there's a soft skill communication or something that you need to develop, maybe you don't know, whatever the tool is, it's a great opportunity for you to plug in, join a resource maybe like Urban League. Maybe there's a skill set that you can develop through some of these programs and platforms. You can watch YouTube videos, you can sign up for webinars and courses, but get those keywords on your resume. Somebody told me the other day that I said they were in cybersecurity, but they had a degree in like mechanical engineering. So I'm like, well, how the heck do I know that you know how to be a cybersecurity professional? What kind of training have you had? And she's like, oh yeah, I did this certification and that training, and I went to these conferences. I'm like, why is none of this on your resume? So these are the keywords. They are telling you, these tools, Teal, Job Scan, they are telling you, hey, I've scanned the job that you're applying for. I've scanned your resume. Here, you're a match, or you're not so good a match. And it's about making sure that there's as much of a alignment and match as humanly possible, because these are the words that those software applicant tracking systems, that's what they're looking for.
Yep.
They're looking for these particular words to know if you can make the cut. And so if you don't include their specific word choice, their specific vocabulary in your resume, you are oftentimes not making the cut. I don't care how much you think you know. You could do this job. I could do this job in my sleep. I could do this job every day of the week. All that, you might think you are the best thing since sliced bread, but if you don't tell them, if you don't make it plain and clear on your resume, then they won't know, and you'll keep getting rejected, and you'll wonder, what's wrong with me? And the truth is, nothing's wrong with you. There's something wrong with your resume.
Well received from the Motorola engineer that writes resumes, right? Yeah, well received. Well, that's, you actually did it. All right, look, Denise, I want to talk about AI. There's talk out here in the space about AIs and how we can leverage AI platforms to even create a resume. You can drop your position description and your resume into the Chat GPT interface and say, create a resume. What are your thoughts on this?
Look, we have to embrace technology. It's not going anywhere. And the sooner you embrace it and start utilizing it to help you with your job search, the less pressure, the less time you'll have to deal with all of the minutia of applying, the heavy lifting of your job search. Let's take a look at Teal. Teal is a great platform. It helps you build your resume. It even has a keyword count, y'all. So it'll tell you out the gate, based on this job description, you only have 3 of the keywords on there. Or, hey, you've got 50% keyword optimized. So we've got to embrace these tools, because on the flip side, they're using them. More and more companies, small companies, are now utilizing AI platforms in their ATS or in their tracking system. So it's important that on our side of the fence as the job seekers that we're also using them. And as you mentioned earlier, Job Scan, Chat GPT, when you're tailoring your resume, you don't have to do the whole rewrite yourself. You are literally copying the job description along with your resume and prompting Chat GPT to tailor your resume to this job description. And in less than 30 seconds, it spits out a brand new resume. So do yourself a favor. If there's nothing else you learn, if you walk away from our conversation today, is really, instead of being afraid of it, embrace technology and where it's going, especially Gen AI.
It's on, like, there's no way around it. It's here. You might as well leverage it. And I think
Yeah.
I can't even say if you get ahead of it, but it's constantly changing. So I think if you embrace, you can stay current and relevant and use the tools maybe to assist you in and especially in creating documents, but also advancing your brand. So I
Mhm.
think that's really important. All right. So speaking about advancing brand, tailoring your resume and cover letter for specific opportunities. Sometimes it appears that people use the same documents to apply to multiple job opportunities. Thoughts?
Not the best strategy. That's my thought. And I hear it so often that folks are, anytime it's like it burns my ears a little bit. They're like, I applied to 100 jobs this week. I'm like, how? Somehow that means you're not doing it right because you are not taking the time to actually customize it to the needs of that specific employer. And
Mhm.
so I think a lot of times about job search and how it relates to dating. And so it's almost just like saying, I just want to date somebody. Yeah, you'll do. Like who wants to hear that? I want to know that, I'm the most beautiful and my eyes are this and my hair is that. I want to know all of those kinds of things about why you are impressed with me. Not
Mhm.
just I just want some old body, any old job. And so here, let
Mhm.
me give you this generic thing that I didn't gave to 50 other people this week. I want you to talk to me and what is
Mhm.
special about this opportunity and how you feel like you can make a real tangible difference. And so let's make sure we get out of the habit, the bad habit of just sending the same old, same old. Even if you got to leverage Chat GPT to do some of the customization, so be it. But do what you have to do, and embrace the fact that you're probably going to be, instead of 100 jobs a week, you're probably going to be applying to 10 jobs a week. And now you can be really selective and careful. You can
Mhm.
engage with the right people on LinkedIn at some of the places where you actually want to be. And now I can network, I can have conversations, I can have some of those informational interviews that Ken talked about. And we are now accelerating this whole process. The goal is not to become such master resume writers and all this stuff that we all just kind of do what I do, what Denise does. The goal is for you to be in and out of this job search as quickly as possible so you can
That's
get
right.
on to the work that you're on this earth to do.
Sure.
Right.
Wow.
Let me please add to that. And I love how you're sharing that because it is about a relationship. I tell my clients, you need to write a love letter, your cover letter. Instead of a cover letter, it's a love letter to this recruiter or to this company or whoever the heck is reading that resume. You have got to show why you want this job. Now, let me back it up a little bit because I hate cover letters as a recruiter. I don't have the best eyesight. So to have to read a whole nother document, I don't want to do it. But if you're going to send me one, please make it addressed to me or to the position, because this is a great opportunity for you to speak about branding. And that's what we talk about here. Who are you? What value are you bringing? What is it that you do that's different from anybody else? What should make me want to jump and read that resume? And so it's the same thing. I've seen plenty of objectives or summaries that I knew right out the gate was not targeted for me or my position. So imagine how that makes me feel. I'm like, I roll. I don't want to talk to you.
Hey, listen, Valentine's Day is 2 weeks away, and you're talking about writing love letters to employers. I think we got another workshop. I think we have something.
Bye-bye.
let's, let's go to the next slide, please. All right. So Brenda, what's next? What else should you have in your toolkit?
Good. So I think far too often we put all the emphasis on the resume as if that's all you'll ever need in this whole process. And it's not. Sometimes we need coaching because we don't have confidence in ourselves. Sometimes we need help with how do I prepare for an interview? How do I address the employment gap that I've had for the last year? How do I talk about it in such a way that I can still show up and, really rise to the occasion? What about LinkedIn? Why are there so many people who were told once upon a time to create a LinkedIn profile? They created an account, never created a profile, and or they haven't checked in on it in months and months. And so you might have opportunities sitting in your inbox. I can't tell you how many times I've sent specific opportunities to individuals and they just didn't respond, or they'll come back months later like, hey, is it still out there? Like, no, that ship has sailed, y'all. So LinkedIn is vital. Some sort of interview preparation guidance, because your resume, its job is to open the door for interview conversations, and you need to know how to take it from there and finish the job. You do need LinkedIn in your arsenal, and you need to know how to engage with people. And so sometimes that is things like maybe conversation guides. That's one of the things I provide to my coaching clients who are in job search mode. We provide conversation guides because it's scary when you don't know what to say and who to say it to and how often to say it and follow up. And so those things are absolutely essential. Do not think for a second that your resume is going to stand alone when you need to have an army of advocates vouching for you. Networking is the game right now, y'all. And so if you think your resume and these job boards are going to get it done for you, please think again or reconsider and expand your mindset here and understand that it's people who have access to opportunities, who know you, who know your skill set, and can say, they can connect the dots and say, wow, oh, Denise is really strong in this space, and I know she's looking for this kind of position, and it just happened, right? Ken just heard me talk about a client in events, and he's like, this is how it happens. It's because I said something, he said something, and now I have an avenue to get my client in front of the right kinds of people because we spoke up. And so make sure that you have people in your toolkit too.
I love it. Next slide, please.
If I can add to that real quick though, because I think, Brenda definitely hit on all the things you need for your toolkit, but the reality is 80 to 85% of job seekers who are finding their jobs today, it has nothing to do with having a great resume. It's about your network, and whether those are people you've worked with before, or just somebody on LinkedIn that you asked, hey, can you forward your resume to the hiring manager? That's how people are finding jobs. So having a great resume, as Brenda mentioned, is the beginning, but it's really what you do afterwards. And so having a LinkedIn profile that also aligns from a brand perspective with your resume, not a mirror copy, because your LinkedIn needs to pull me in. That's critical, but also having a follow-up plan, and whether those are templates, there are tons of follow-up templates out there, because if you're just hitting save and easy apply, you're not going to get those responses. It takes that additional step to reach out to somebody and say, hi, I just applied to your position and here's why I'm great for it. So we've given you a lot today, but it's really about you creating the toolkit and making sure that it's customized for you and having those things ready to go so that you can apply and get those quality responses.
All right, let's jump into Q&A. You know what? I'm gonna self-disclose here. I can't see the Q&A. However, the crack team at the Urban League Jobs Network, they've sent me the Q&A, so I feel happy now. I'm excited to get to some of these questions. So the first one we'll start with. I'm trying to transition from a customer service position to a supply chain procurement administrator. How do I best rewrite my resume? And the person that asked that question, tune in, I think it's February 21st for professional pivots, because I think that'll be a great session for you as well. But do you guys have any advice to individuals that are looking to, I guess, pivot or transition into another opportunity as it relates to their resume?
Sure. I like to, anytime somebody is moving from A to B over here, I say keep the hat on for the place where you want to go. So if you know you want to be in supply chain, think about the things that matter in the world of supply chain. what are the things that I did in customer service that also matter in the world of supply chain? But then also, what have you done to prepare yourself to become qualified to work and operate in the supply chain space? Maybe you've taken a class, maybe you've learned, some advanced Microsoft Excel techniques and formulas and VLOOKUPs and the kinds of things that are needed to kind of operate in the supply chain space. Maybe you've done contract negotiations as part of your work in customer service that is applicable to your role in supply chain. And so keep the hat on for where you're going and use that as like a filter or a lens for the work that you used to do. Everything runs now through the supply chain filter, not through the customer service filter. It runs through the supply chain filter. And so asking yourself the supply chain questions from that perspective can really help you to get the right content in your resume.
So we're going to try to get there are a ton of questions here. I just want you guys to know we're going to try to get to quite a few of them. So if we can like make the answers concise, I'd appreciate it. But the question next, any recommendations regarding including internships during your graduate studies and you are currently applying to positions post-graduation?
Absolutely. I think that counts as work experience. And you're going to utilize that just like you would a company where you've worked, and you're going to highlight the strategic and the tactical things you did, including metrics, results. It's exactly the same as an actual job, because it is an actual job. So
Gotcha.
approach it that way.
Any thoughts on adding awards to your resume? Is that appropriate for a bullet point?
Yes, yes. I love awards. Awards speak to excellence. And so don't just ever say, I want an award. Say, I want an award. I won this award for this reason, or I won 5X awards for these reasons. And then even include that in your summary at the top, right? I'm a 5X award winning something, something. That really does help you stand out in a pool of applicants.
Okay, next question. I was six. I started work when I was 16, and I wanted to know, should I keep jobs on my resume from when I was 16 until now? I just got laid off from my event logistics management job. Right, I don't know
Yeah.
what you were doing at 16, but you probably don't want to do that now, right? So I'm not sure if that experience is even relevant. You guys thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, but again, it depends on, where you are age-wise, because if you're only 22 applying for your first job, that might be relevant. At 14 years old, I worked for a student loan company. I was doing microfiche. I know I'm aging myself here, but again, that helped me get my first bank job.
All right, so now that we're talking banking, I have another question. This person says, I have many years of administrative experience. I have worked for 3 of the most lauded banks on Wall Street. How do I display my experience without aging myself?
So sometimes yes, a traditional resume captures about 10 to 15 years of experience. However, sometimes you have older experience that's still highly relevant. And in those situations, I would suggest that you include a section on your resume, just call it prior experience, additional experience. And that section includes some of the highlights from those seasons without any dates attached to them. And so they simply are an opportunity for you to name drop a little bit, right? And so look, I worked for Motorola more than 20 years ago. And so who the heck cares? But you care that I worked for Motorola, right?
Yeah.
I didn't tell you when I did it. I just told you that I did it. And that enough was the credibility that I needed. And so name drop and include some of those really major highlights, even if they were more than 15 years ago and under prior experience.
Okay, let's see here. We're going to try to get another one in. So many great questions. Transition. I don't want to go over ones that we've answered already. All right. So is there a particular font that I should use on my resume?
Easy to read. I mean, this is not a wedding invitation. I'm reading a million of them. Keep it simple. Times Roman might date you. Not my favorite, but
Brenda shaking her head at the Times Roman over there.
I'm a Calibri girl. Go for
Okay, me too, me too.
What was that again?
it. Calibri.
Okay.
Calibri, yes.
Excellent. Well, listen,
Hey,
I just,
yay,
I just,
Jacqueline.
I really appreciate you guys today. This was a really fun session. I think we covered a lot of ground. Thank you so very much to the audience for having some really great questions today. We appreciate it. Any closing remarks, Denise?
You know, here's the thing. The job market has changed. You're not just a person that shows up every day to work. You are a brand, and a brand is bigger than a job. And so now is the time to start thinking of yourself that way, to attract the opportunities that excite you and the ones that are going to pay you. Invest the time, grab yourself a coach, or just do your research. You got this.
Brenda?
Amen. Listen, y'all, job search is hard. It's hard out here in these streets. One of the best things that you can do for yourself is have guidance to outsmart this system. I want you to accelerate. I want you, like she said, grab a coach, whatever that means, right? If it's if it's through your local workforce center, get help, because talking about yourself is hard. I'm a whole professional resume writer, and it's still hard for me to write my own content. So
Yep.
please do not go around beating yourselves up because you are not a professional resume writer. You're not supposed to be. You're supposed to be good at the work you do. So if you need help, reach out, schedule a consultation, reach out to Denise, reach out to me. Let's get it done so that we are not having the same conversation next year.
And we're going to help you reach out to our great panelists today. I want to thank you for joining Revitalize Your Resume. If you are interested in connecting with Brenda, her contact information is there. Brenda Mariah, we really, really appreciate you. You gave some great advice today. President of the National Resume Writers Association. Let's give it up for that. If you want to stay connected to the work of Miss Denise Mills, she shows up on Urban League platforms and helps us out, so you can always stay connected with us. But also, you can reach out to her at the following information. Listen, I know we didn't get to a lot of the questions today, but both of these individuals are on LinkedIn. I know that they're always open to answering questions, connecting with people. I know that I believe, I don't know about Denise, but I know Brenda writes resumes for a living. So you may want to consider her services. And Denise is coaching and doing what she does. I'm sure there's resume advice packaged up into that as well. So please just tap in with them. I'm Kenneth L. Johnson, the president of East Coast Executives. We are the world's leading diversity recruitment firm. You can go to eastcoastexecutives.com if you want to check in with me. And I live on LinkedIn, so that's always a good place to reach me. So I accept all, well, not all, but most invite requests. So let's do that. All right. We're going to do it again. February 7th. That's next week. We're back to back. I spoke to this young lady the other day, Portia Obang. She is locked in on crafting your digital persona. You do not want to miss this session. Look at that picture. You can tell the energy's there. She has great energy. So we'll do it again on February 7th, back to back. Portia Obang, crafting your digital persona. Please register and join us next week. Look, on behalf of the National Urban League, the Urban League Jobs Network, Wanda Jackson, Corey O'Donnell, Adanya, I appreciate you sending those questions over. Thank you all so very much. And to our speakers, we just really appreciate you. This was a great session, but most of all, our audience, you guys made it great. Great questions, great chat, great questions. Come back and join us on the 7th. I'm Kenneth L. Johnson. Take care. We'll see you next week.